Okay, so the last video for the rise of the Nazis. Hitler becomes known as der Fuhrer. I don't know how to pronounce this right, but it means the leader in German. So if you watch World War II movies and it's called like mein Führer, that's my leader. All the media turns into Nazi propaganda, just like a totalitarian state would do. Non-approved books, burn them. Again, anytime books get burned, that's a warning sign. Churches are forbidden to criticize the government. So, in the Holocaust, we mostly focus on the number of Jewish people that are murdered. And that is because in the 14 million people who were killed in the Holocaust, the majority were Jewish. So between 6 to 8 million of the 14 million. So if you died in the Holocaust, you're probably Jewish. If not, you could have been a political dissident. You could have been someone who spoke out. So, for example, Catholic priests. There was one concentration camp that had an entire wing just devoted to Catholic priests who were speaking out in their sermons against the Nazis. It's, well, we're not in the class, but I have a great book. If you want to read it next year, it's called Priest Block, and it's the survivor's account. A lot of Protestant pastors also were arrested and put in the concentration camps. Academics in the universities, people who spoke out, concentration camp. Primarily Jewish people in the concentration camps, but there were a lot of other people mixed in there too. The Hitler Youth is for the children. Just like we said, the indoctrination process, this is how it's going to happen in Germany. So Germany, by the time Hitler gets into power and he's the Fuhrer, it's all out totalitarian. So some propaganda, and I'm going to go through this quickly because I'm going to also give you the opportunity to watch a video that breaks down a lot of Nazi propaganda. Again, I'm going to make that one optional. I'll put it in the title because I know you have a lot of work to do. But in this one on the left, Arbeit in German means work. So Arbeiter is worker. I don't know what this means, but underneath, whoops, down. Hitler, exclamation point. So this is basically saying Hitler will give you a job. The one on the right, if we take a look, well, Kinder, if you know, kindergarten is a German word. Kinder means children or child, I forget which one. And so it's like Hitler with the children, and everyone's really happy. So such a sick like picture now that looking back through history, but this is the kind of things that Germans are seeing every day in the 1930s. On the left, Hitler Jugend. Jugend is German for youth. So if we take our propaganda analysis, look at colors and centralization, this is like this sort of golden statue of like the perfect young man. And how do you get there? You have to join the Hitler Youth. And here, I believe this says say yes to the Fuhrer. Ja being yes. In a vote, which is basically a sham vote because they're going to be intimidating people at the ballot box. But if the Nazi salute is this, the Heil Hitler salute, like putting the hand up. I wouldn't recommend doing that in public, but that's what it looks like with the picture. But basically what this is showing that is if you join the Nazi party, right, you do the salute, what's happening here? You are breaking the chains that have kept you down if you join the Nazi party. Again, propaganda is very clever and devious. Hitler's two main targets. So again, in totalitarianism, there's always the bad guy, and it can be different people in different totalitarian systems. And Hitler's, we have the Jews and the communists that in the speeches he's always ranting on and on about. And he conflated the two, basically saying they're one and the same. And so in 1933, we have the first laws passed limiting the rights of the Jewish people. And do I get into this? The first one in 1933, I didn't mention this on the PowerPoint slide, but the first one is Jews are not allowed to own guns. If any government goes after a specific group of people and says you can't own a gun, it's not looking good for you. And that's the first way to, because once they don't have guns, then they can't defend themselves from the Nazis when they come to take them to the concentration camps. In 1935, the Nuremberg laws were the most comprehensive ones against the Jews. It stripped them of German citizenship. So it says, okay, if you're Jewish, you're not a citizen anymore. Therefore, you don't have rights, and all of the rights that may have applied to you before in the German Constitution, well, you don't have them anymore. It had national boycotts of Jewish-owned stores. It forced... Okay, so if you're Jewish, you're like, I got to get out of here now. Like, for instance, Albert Einstein, he booked it. He left Germany. I think Germany or Austria, either one. But it was a Nazi-controlled area. But he went to live in New Jersey, actually, teach at Princeton. And he became friends with the president, Franklin Roosevelt. Forced Jews to pay a 90% tax to leave the country. In other words, if you were Jewish, you wanted to leave Germany, you had to, essentially, everything you owned, you had to pay 90% of the value of it just to leave the border. Like I said, with a totalitarian regime, when they ban you from leaving or make it really hard to leave, that's when you know it's a bad place to be. And also banned marriage between Jews and non-Jews, and remember with the whole social Darwinism and the Aryan race and the superiority thing of the Aryans, of the Northern Europeans. So he doesn't want any Jewish people mixing in with pure Aryans, because he is a racist. Like, I needed to say that. Okay. And then this was the star that Jewish people were forced to sew onto their clothing. And this is the German word for Jew, Jude. In 1938, we have what's called Kristallnacht. Crystal means glass, Nacht means night. So Night of Broken Glass, where Hitler's his thugs, the Gestapo, brown shirts, a bunch of people riled up in the Nazi party, they go around, and any Jewish-owned businesses, they're just going to trash. They just throw bricks through the windows, set a bunch of them on fire. And again, during this time, since 1933, and more every year, more and more Jewish people are being sent to concentration camps. And yeah, that's the last slide, but let's talk about the Holocaust a bit more. At first, these concentration camps were work camps where you're basically working to make weapons and things that the German army needed. And how does the German government afford this? Well, free labor. Basically, concentration camps is a form of slavery and working people to death. And as World War II progressed and Hitler became even crazy, like, Hitler's crazy, as we've seen here, and it's hard to believe he gets crazier over the course of World War II. Part of it is because he became addicted to a version of a drug that's close to methamphetamine, like crystal meth, but the 1930s version. It was prescribed by his doctor, and so he was just out of his mind. So he gets crazier and crazier, and eventually orders something called the final solution. Solution to what? To the quote-unquote the Jewish problem. So they had the Jewish people in these concentration camps, and Hitler, still convinced that he's going to win the war, he's like, well, the Jewish problem, we can't have them polluting the Aryan race, and the Jews are communists and they're the worst people ever, so what's the solution? Well, the final solution was extermination. And so that's when the concentration camps turned into death camps, and you have the gas chambers and people being burned in the ovens and all the horrible things that you know about the Holocaust that happened. And that's how you get 14 million people executed in the space of about 10 years, which is just mind-boggling. World War II, and that's just the Holocaust. World War II, the death count in the whole world is around 70 to 80 million. And I don't know. I'm speechless, okay? Yeah. World War II saw the greatest courage among soldiers who fought for freedom. It also saw the worst inhuman behavior with things like the Holocaust and the mass murders that occurred. It's a fascinating time. Since World War II ended, we've been in a period of relative peace, and let's hope it just stays like that for a very long time. But yeah, we're witnessing some of the worst of what humans are capable of. Okay, that's it for today. I'll see you next time.